Following reports vaguely linking her to the terror group ISIS, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is now turning the tables on the Trump administration and pointing her finger directly at our nation's Department of Homeland Security, accusing them of being the real terrorists. I think in politics they call that the old switcheroo. In a blistering speech on the House floor, the Somalia-born lawmaker claims that DHS was created for one purpose only, in her words, to terrorize the public while functioning as an occupying force in communities throughout the entire U.S. That's utter delusion. She goes on to say we can no longer continue to operate as if this kind of terror is acceptable in any way, that true accountability is needed immediately, and that fixing the problem begins with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking our country's entire immigration policy. Well, wrong on all counts, and odd that she left out the part about the $9 billion worth of fraud in her state. I'm sure it was an honest omission. However, she doesn't stop there. In her long-winded rant, she goes on to demand immediate justice for her two fallen constituents, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, saying that her comrades were both beloved neighbors and community members who were murdered by federal immigration enforcement agents. Well, maybe there was a trial and a guilty verdict, and I missed that part. Furthermore, she's also calling for an independent investigation into their deaths, as well as into all the agencies she now accuses of actively terrorizing our country, claiming that federal authorities are currently blocking and completely stonewalling any attempt to do so. So, earlier this week, President Trump hosted a news report to Truth Social regarding a deadly U.S. military strike, which targeted more than a dozen ISIS leaders who were hiding out in a cave in Somalia. And in that post, he asks whether or not Omar was there to protect her corrupt homeland, in essence, tying her directly to terrorism. Meanwhile, he's also repeatedly accused the Congresswoman of directly profiting from the billions of dollars of welfare fraud schemes in Minnesota, suggesting more than once that she should be jailed, deported, and sent packing to her country of origin. In reality, however, the Congresswoman has been busy kind of stirring the pot, ignoring that staggering fraud scandal completely, like it never happened, and effortlessly dodging a growing number of inquiries into her sudden and inexplicable skyrocketing wealth. Hey, by the way, if you need a loan for maybe a used Ford pickup truck, go to the Bank of Omar. Man, they got tons of dough. She's now accusing the Trump administration of turning her current home from a place of refuge into a war zone. No, she did that pretty much all on her own, and of losing sight of the admirable values that make our country great. And she argues Americans like her are going to have to fight for their future if they have any hope of ever saving humanity. Yeah, when I think of humanity, just like you, I think of Ilhan Omar. Final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. America, please file this story under the heading, Bless Her Little Heart. The multi-zillionaire congresswoman from Minnesota is confused about law and order. She can't distinguish between right and wrong, and her level of ignorance regarding the role that ICE agents play in a civilized society, it's alarming. And so nobody is going to abolish anything. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. Yeah, they're a tragic bunch. They focus on smart immigration enforcement, humane detention, preventing terrorism, and combating the illegal movement of people and goods. Yeah, sounds pretty dreadful to me. That Madam Omar has a conflict with that is confusing, but if it's a deal breaker, she's more than free to call it a day. Yeah, simply leave behind that fancy six-figure government job. Pack her bags, throw her estimated $30 million in loose change into a bunch of suitcases, and then make the mad dash out of town on that next flight out of Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Just like that. It's pretty easy. Funny thing is, over the years, they say hundreds of millions of dollars have moved through that airport, and all without any conflict at all. Also, regarding Ms. Omar's comment that Renee Good and Alex Preddy were murdered by federal immigration enforcement agents, hey, buttercup, Ms. Ilhan, here in the USA, without formal charges, trials, and guilty verdicts, nobody murdered anybody. There's a bit more to the story, and we think you left out a whole bunch of interesting facts. Nice try. Keep trying, though, and stop manipulating the narrative. Hey, Bill Thomas here. If you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. And don't forget to check out our channel, News Roundup with Bill Thomas. And that's where you can catch our full program and more videos. And we'll see you right back here next time.